Welcome back to 50/50, and I'm delighted to be here today with my Danielle and Grayson, and I've got my husband and son upstairs, and I don't want either of them to be here because I just want to be with my Danielle and Grayson. That might be wrong. Actually, I don't mind if Sam's here. I'm just trying to be kind.
This will be a good test to see if Andy's listening to the podcast.
Right.
Because, if we're bagging him on here and he doesn't listen, well.
I'll never hear about it, mate. Well, we were listening to our latest one on the way here because he hadn't heard it. So he was laughing when I said, well, that's it now. We're only going to have a Mercedes. He went, oh, are we, And then I can't remember what else I said. And, I said my kind husband. He said, oh, thanks, love. So it was a bit of a mixed bag, that one, But, yeah, I think he does listen on his own schedule.
Yes.
I was saying to Grayson before we started that yesterday I was at one of our most important clients and one of our most long-running clients, actually, and I was running a training session for their staff. And before I started, their CEO came into the kitchen and said, oh, hello, media personality, or something like that.
Ooh.
I know, and I laughed. He's such a sweetheart. And I said, oh, thanks very much, with sort of, I was laughing ironically. But he said, I listen to podcasts like Diary of a CEO. He's a CEO, the fellow.
Yes.
And I listen to Huberman, Huberman Lab, because they're both very famous.
Yep.
And he said, oh, look, thing with a podcast is there's lots of good info out there, but actually, of course, what you want with a podcast is you want someone you can actually listen to and enjoy listening to.
Yes.
And he said, and you provide that, Tam.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. And
we love you.
Yeah, I know. And I said to Grayson, and I said to him at the time, I said, oh, thanks so much. It really means a lot when someone who's very professional, very well-spoken, he's just a clever cookie, and to get the reinforcement. I've had it from him as a client because he's used us for years.
Yeah.
But that's a different thing. And that is probably a good start for the theme of today because...
Oh, what's the theme of today?
Well, you know how I come in with 2 or 3 things in mind, and today I kind of feel relieved just because I'm in a different part of time, and you will know, of course, because you've supported me through it, is I put quite a vulnerable post on LinkedIn maybe a week ago about perimenopause and the impact it has on me. Actually, the impact isn't all bad, I don't think, but it's certainly really discombobulating, that experience. And it kind of ties into me talking to the CEO yesterday. I almost said his name, which I'm sure he wouldn't mind, but I won't, just out of respect. And this difference between doing this out of the joy and love in my heart and doing it to get recognition, accolade, reassurance.
Yes.
And I'm happy today, and the reason I'm happy is having posted that and now being in I think, a different hormonal phase of the month, which is so crucial to this whole thing, I've been able to see with greater clarity the difference, the immense difference actually, between the power of doing what one loves and needing recognition for that. And they were mushed together for me. So they were really mushed. They weren't at the start when we started this thing. It was just the joy of being in here, right?
Yep.
For both you and I.
It
We're
was,
like, oh, my God, who cares who watches this? This is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we ran onto the arena. Woo,
Like that.
we're here in the arena. And then, oh, fuck, we're in the arena.
Oh, my God, is anyone watching the arena? And, that joy of not, like you and I both said, even if no one listens.
Yeah.
And coming today, I was like, oh, yay. And it wasn't about who's going to listen. It was about I want to be in this room talking to you, right? And I said quite cruelly that I didn't want my husband here. But it's true because this is where I come and I don't have to worry about the rest of my life or responsibilities or my relationship with him or anyone else. And I get to talk to you and have a good time. We do. We have a really nice time. So you said to me some episodes ago, you said...
I hate that you have a good memory. That really
does it frighten you?
It does. I've got a few friends like that.
You said to me
you said
that you were going to give me
$100,000.
No. What you said was it was out of the training that you've done and now I've started doing, and you said it was such a comforting thing. I loved it. You said if you're doing what brings your heart joy, you will make a difference to people just in the expression of that love and happiness, right?
Yes.
And I love that idea. So I listen to our podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I listen to it often repeatedly. Our numbers are skewed just because of me. But it's fascinating to be, because this has always been a meta experience, right? But it's fascinating to be in the journey and then listen to the journey. And as I get in and out of upset or fear or anxiety or lack of self-esteem or hormones or whatever's going on, I'll listen to you and I talk about something and I will actually get the lesson even later than the conversation we had.
Wow.
And like
that's
that's an
special.
example of it where you said, going with your heart.
Yeah.
Or I shared a couple of episodes ago that one of the ones we've published recently where I said, I can see the difference between the purpose and wanting popularity, but I go in and out of it, right? So I'll be really clear. It doesn't matter who thinks what of this, it'll be okay.
Yes.
I'll be really clear, really
Yes.
free, really joyful.
Yes.
And then I'll go,
Yes.
F. How many likes am I going to get?
Yes.
And the thing I've most loved
Yes.
is being able to delineate that. And I will literally write a note for myself because depending on where my hormones are at, I'll really find it harder to see. I can really see the love and joy of the mission as completely separate to the ego of the response.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're two completely
different
separate
things,
things. And I was talking to a friend yesterday because I started thinking for myself, like Jim Carrey said, I wish everyone could have won an Oscar or be famous to show that's not the thing that's going to make you feel okay. Yeah. And she said to me yesterday, it was good. She challenged me and said, well, what's enough followers? What's enough? And as she said it, I thought, actually, that frightened, not good enough part of me is insatiable. There would never be enough.
Yes.
Never. What a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah.
Because you go, I actually trying to get that validation externally, there's going to be no end to the need for that satisfaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's bottomless.
Can I ask, when you have that insight, I find that so freeing.
Yes.
Like, it sounds horrible. Oh, someone's just like shattered my worldview and now I've seen something. But every time I get one of those things, I feel freer. I feel lighter because I'm like, oh yeah, that's what happens. No, I'm never going to get enough.
It was the most freeing. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, because everyone thinks, I don't want to dig around in that stuff because it's going to be scary and whatever. But for me, the freedom that comes after that, you're like,
or it's going to make me feel bad to realise that part of me is insatiable.
Yeah.
It's true to say for 2 or 3 seconds, I felt the shame of being someone that had an insatiable need for attention.
Yeah.
But that very quickly shifted into the relief you're talking about. It's like,
Yeah,
wow, I will never be able to feed that beast enough.
Yeah, we're all human. We all have these things going on and it's good to know what your things are, like
and
what your trigger things are.
And actually, the more extreme the example that you go, there's never going to be enough people, then you go, well, that's hopeless.
Yes.
And that hopelessness gives you the freedom to go, well, I may as well not worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
I had a wonderful
What a lovely friend to give you,
and clever cookie.
You need that directness sometimes. Someone just to tell you how it is.
Yes. And we have been that actually for one another.
Yeah.
But that was a very good question to ask.
Yeah.
When I posted the perimenopause thing, I had a little bit like my whispering video of several weeks prior where I felt very vulnerable doing it, felt like an idiot, and then felt this enormous freedom from having done it and shared the George Michael in the comments, freedom. And it felt the same when I did the perimenopause. I felt I rang you, right? I was like, I don't know if I can, what am I doing? This is LinkedIn. I'm clearly not wearing my tie buttoned up to the top button. And we decided as a team, let's do it. We said that on maybe a Thursday afternoon we had the conversation, and then Friday morning I woke up flat as a tack and thought, not in a million years am I posting this thing. So I had a chai tea, which is my new obsession. Did I tell you I'm listening to what my body wants to eat and drink?
Yeah, I love it.
Did I say it on here?
Oh, I don't think you did. No, you just told me about it. You should say more.
It is puritanical, my body.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yes. My body just agreed with you. It's like, oh, good. Shh. It was like, good, Danielle, yes.
Yes.
So I've always had that my body is a servant of me. I've never had it that it's something that needs my care. Poor thing. You've been such a good body too. So I've decided enough's enough. I better have a bit of a listen to it. I want to stop the yo-yo experience of food and having it being obsessed with food and dieting and all those cliched bullshit things that particularly women are worried about.
Yeah.
I always think it's because I was a skinny kid. I never developed any form of self-esteem because I could just eat what I wanted and I was a stick.
Yeah.
I still remember one of my friends from high school who said, I was so glad when you got chubby.
But it's so true, though. We had a 50th birthday in our friend group recently, and we were going back through old photos, and we did like a photo card thing for her. And I was looking at pictures of me, I think when I was like 18 or something like that, and I thought, I can't believe I used to think I was not fat, but because I was very muscular because I did a lot of dancing and stuff. And I used to remember how like subconscious I was. And I was like, I was hot. Like,
of course.
Give me that body any day of the week now and I'd be happy. But it's so funny how from a very young age you're criticising yourself like automatically.
Imagine the young girls now.
I was like,
Imagine the young girls now. Like who was I talking to? And they were saying we used to have Dolly and Cosmo and now they've got the Kardashians.
Oh, geez.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't know you used to do a lot of dancing.
Yeah.
What kind of dancing did you do?
Oh, all sorts of things. I always did like tap dancing and jazz dancing, and then in school we did like Rocksteadfords and back in the day.
That is so cool. Yeah, that would have been the funnest.
I did a bit of ballroom dancing as well. Yeah, no, I love dancing.
Did you ever do ballet?
Well, interestingly enough, I did ballet last year. Because I thought I've never done ballet, and the West Australian Ballet has the adult classes taught by actual ballerinas, usually from the WA companies and stuff. And obviously, I wasn't very good at it, but I had enough to have a good time because my vision. So that came out of my Land of Plenty stuff as well. That I wanted to do some dancing and then it's funny enough, you make that decision and then the universe sends you something in your feed or your whatever and, adult ballet classes. And I was like, and I had the most lovely time. The music, they have like the piano music for the exercises and it was just what I needed at that time.
Oh, yes.
The mood, just a movement of my body, some beautiful piano music. And I did beginners. I think I did beginners like 5 times in a row because I didn't actually want to think. I just wanted to enjoy. Have a lovely time at ballet. So I only did that last year. Yeah.
And your body would have remembered dance. Like I think when people have a muscle memory, actually I don't even mean muscle memories from muscles, even though in your case it would have been literally that, but it would have gone, I know what I'm doing enough. Yes. I know what I'm doing enough.
Yes. Yes. And funnily enough, because I was analysing the other day, so how I've been doing improv.
Yes.
So I've done 2 terms of improv now. I did the beginners one and then I did an intermediate one. But I had a major resistance to doing at the end of the term you do a performance. Just friends and family.
Yeah.
No one's taking it very seriously and I haven't and couldn't do either of them. And I was talking to my improv friends the other day about this, and I think it's because I was like, I used to perform dancing. It doesn't bother me to stand up and do something, but the dancing is rehearsed, it's controlled. You've practiced it.
Yes.
Even if you're doing a play or something, you've rehearsed your lines, you know where you're going to stand. It's all very controlled. But improv is you just get up there and see where the scene takes you.
Yes.
So I think my resistance to doing the stage improv is the lack of control.
Oh, yes.
So
makes total sense.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
And is that the point you got to where you're like, I realised that, but I'm not ready to move through it, or are you going to practice moving through it? Like, where are you up to?
I've set myself a goal now because the new term's just about to start.
Okay.
And I've gone back to the beginners one to get because I looked at, dancing. You want to get better at something, you just practice it more.
Yeah.
So I'm applying that with the improv. I'm going to go back to beginners, get some more reps under my belt, and then I'm definitely doing the next performance.
Oh, that's awesome.
So whether it's a painful experience or a positive experience, I don't know. But I recognise that I just need to rip that Band-Aid off now.
I think doing it will be great, whatever, actually.
Yeah. But
doing it is the thing.
Understanding that it's that lack of control that, like you were saying, once you know what that is and it's freeing and you're like, oh, that's going to come up for me.
Yeah.
So how am I going to?
Yes.
How am I going to make myself comfortable with that before I go on?
Do you know what? That is actually a great segue because it's one of the things I wanted to talk about today, and hopefully it might help you. I'm not sure if it will or not. So, I've been a trainer for many years. I've always had look, to be honest, I've always had quite a strong element of improv, for want of a better word, in my training.
Yeah.
And I tend to react to what's happening in the moment and with the people in the room. But it's become exponentially greater. And the reason that I wanted to share it with you, connected to the story you just said, is it's incredibly uncomfortable, this shift that's happening. So I'm glad it's happening. I'm getting a better result for my training clients. I feel more like myself. And it's so disconcerting because from moment to moment I'm adjusting.
Yeah.
Nothing's set.
Nothing's set. Yes.
So
Which is totally how I want to live my life now.
Yes.
But that is not my MO.
It's no one's MO. Well, it is, of course. It's a few rare creatures who have gone through this process we're in right now,
present
right?
And
But that's pretty rare. I think people listening will really understand the discomfort. But I would say being in that process now, I haven't experienced it before. And I was saying I think the same friend that said to me, how many listeners would be enough? I said, it feels like I'm in a storm, right? So, storms are super beautiful and have flashes of light and lightning, and there's nothing I love more than a storm, a big thunderstorm. But to be in those clouds is very unsafe. You'd literally be being whipped around. I mean, the metaphor doesn't really work because you drop like a stone to the earth. But imagine that you're part of the storm, one of the cells in the storm. It's both. I'm seeing more beauty, more light, more lightning. I'm more in awe and I feel very unsafe. And then I don't want to become too repetitive about the hormones. Everyone gets that's a theme for me at the moment, but it definitely also depends where I'm up to in the month. Where I'm up to, right?
Yeah, totally.
So these 2 training sessions, one was with a group I know very well and I really like and respect, and I was both excited to work with them and really wanted an outcome for them and their manager. So their manager really wanted an outcome, a useful outcome. I really like and respect him. I'm a good service person for him and he's a lovely client, right? Then his staff, who are senior as well, they're all very well-intentioned, very clever, manage a huge job, lots of stress. So leading into this, I prep a little bit like when I said I promised a good result at Women in Mining and then I had to do a lot of prep. I tried the same approach, but interestingly, unlike Women in Mining, which actually was a much more controlled environment, right? It was a speech on a stage where everyone politely sat there and listened.
Yeah.
This was with a group of people who I was facilitating a team working day with them. So they had opinions. You could see when they were more energised or less, what subject we were. I've never changed slides or anything else faster in my life. And if the manager was listening, he'd be so surprised because when we stopped at lunch, I said, how's it going? I didn't have a clue how it was going. I just knew.
You were just in the zone.
I was in my heart. I loved them. I thought it was doing all right. I didn't really know and I didn't know what his experience was.
Yeah.
And he said, this is fabulous. I don't even know if that's the word he used, but it was fabulous, wonderful, terrific, some greatly positive word. And I was very relieved, less from my ego this day and more from my commitment. I was like, good, this is what I wanted for you. And he said, the way you've set up your slides, the way you've prepped it. And I was thinking, that's kind of true. But it was exactly like being this little cell in the storm where I was like, I'm trying to move with the group. I was anxious because I was in that phase I was in. I was thinking I'm in the room going, I can't think clearly. I don't know how to do this. And everyone's having the time of their lives.
Yeah.
So I got to the end of that day a bit worn out and then had to do training the next day because Andy, of course, has had his issue with his foot and hasn't been able to stand up for too long. He's getting better. So I went and did a second day. And again, only 3 people, very small group, low key. But I was really myself. I was really present and it was really disconcerting because I had to stop myself several times and go, oh, I'm sorry, I see I've gone off track there and I didn't want you to feel like I've gone. I was talking to them like, anyway, again going, well, I hope that went okay. It felt all right. And one of the more talkative of the attendees stopped me as I was leaving and said, oh, that was awesome. And I said, thank you. And she said, one of my colleagues really would have rather been anywhere else. And I said, because we asked people, are you a volunteer or hostage?
Yes.
We say hostage, it's like you've had handcuffs put on and led into the room. And this fellow looked like he was going to the gallows. And he said, I'm less hostage than I thought I'd be. And then afterwards she said to me, we all had a very good time, and he particularly had a good time. And she said, and that's because of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, wow, all right. Might be the way I need to approach things. And depending on where I'm up to personally, psychologically, hormonally, whatever's going on, it's going to be more or less of a good experience, right? It's going to be more or less easy for me to be with them and be present.
Yeah. Hey, who didn't read the no phone sign on the front door of the recording studio?
Oh, my God, Grayson. It's my biggest mistake ever.
We need to know who the text is from. Is it your husband upstairs going, are you finished yet?
I think it was someone giving me a high five for doing 50 days of Duolingo. What a positive reason to have had noise come into the studio.
And it clearly, yeah.
I'm
so glad that was you, because I always think it's going to be me, because I'm always the one that goes, now you need to do this. You need to do that. And
happens in training a lot. We'll go, now make sure your phone's off. And on the table, and you go, throw it on the floor. Do you know why I've got my phone here? Because that poet I mentioned last time or time before, John Rodell, the American.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about this idea around when I got most anxious and how I found relief. And I went to a painting night last night with my darling friend Mel, and we painted blue wrens. Oh. Yeah, it was very nice. I don't think my wren's great.
Oh,
but
Mel. Hi, Mel.
Yes, you know Mel.
Mel.
Darling
Gorgeous.
Mel. She's so lovely. Anyway. We went to this painting night, and she's been listening to the podcast, and she's known me, how long you known me, Mel? 27 or 8 years, right?
Yeah.
Worked together back in the day in pharmaceuticals. She's actually a scientist in terms of pharmaceuticals. I used to like to sell a lot of stuff, but she sold it really ethically. I've always been proud of her about that. I was like, you want some lunch? Now buy my shit. Anyway, that's not true at all. I was completely ethical. But I was very sales focused, very outcome focused, whereas she was very what's the best outcome with the product for the client using the specialist information. Used to really frustrate me, Mel, and you know it. Anyway, So anyway, last night she and I doing this painting. It was lovely. I had a lady next to me that compulsively couldn't stop talking. It was actually a little bit of a worry. I texted the organiser this morning and said, is she okay? Anyway, in between that happening, Mel said to me, I've been listening to the podcast and I heard you say why you like being a coach and not a trainer. And she said, knowing you as long as I've known you, she said, trainer, you're under assessment, you need the eval, people are looking at you. She said, that's just a nightmare for how you get anxious. And she said, coaching, you get to forget about you and just be with the other person. And she said, it must be such a relief for you. And I said, it really is.
Yeah, right.
I love it not being about me and being distracted from that sense of pressure. And connected to that, of course, I feel like I'm being contributory.
Yeah.
So it's good for me, but I'm making a difference.
How fascinating. Because I've been in training with you and it was the best training I've ever had in my entire life. And when you were speaking before about, connecting with people in the room, it's like you connect to everybody's energy and you deliver messages, especially for those people, the people that were in the room with me when you trained us on resilience and stuff. They've all to this day say it was one of the best things they've ever done. Like the lessons that they learned from you.
Yeah.
And I think you did a lot of that. Like you had a structure because we asked for, we want to be trained on this, but we don't really know what we want.
Yeah.
And you kind of made the whole thing up in terms of how it was going to flow. And I didn't know what I wanted, and I said, that looks good. And we just learnt so much. Yeah, it was legendary.
Yeah, thank you. And when I think about all those years ago when I was with you, I would have been a combination of anxious and committed in a different way to how I was a couple of days ago.
Yeah, right.
Same sort of outcome. I get what you're saying because when I train, I really try and make it very useful for people. Interestingly, I've said to you on here, and I've certainly said to myself, oh, look, I don't want to train small groups and I don't know when I'll want to do that again.
Yeah.
But I actually think it's coming around really much faster than I thought it would be to coming back to I can do it.
Yeah. You're so good at it.
But Thank
But it
you.
caused you a lot of anxiety, you say.
Well, it
Because
has.
I
Not
wouldn't have
everyone
known.
always thought I was the most
I wouldn't have
relaxed
known.
trainer.
You were like a stand-up
yeah.
comedy act.
Yeah.
Delivering us the most useful information, diagrams. I still remember I to this day call it amygdala hijack because of you.
Yeah.
You taught me what that was.
Yeah.
And something's going on. I'm like, oh, I'm having an amygdala hijack
Yeah.
right now. And my brain's shutting down.
Yeah.
And I know what that is now because of you and that diagram you drew on the board.
Isn't that funny? So I suppose what's changed is I used to do it well, highly anxious. Then I did it well with less anxiety, but not really wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Then I came and talked to you here and went, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be a coach and a speaker and do this.
Yeah.
And then through some process around this self-belief thing or being safe with people or not safe with people, I thought I'd come out the other side 10 years from now and go, I want to work with small groups again. And it's been more like 10 weeks. Maybe we're at some of the spiritual people say we're in a fast-paced phase of development.
Really? Because that is how I felt over the last few months. Is that really
Fast.
a thing? Yeah, things are happening.
Really fast, which is great. The reason my phone went off, apart from I was naughty and had it on noise, I had it on noise to be respectful in case I got a text back from you about forgetting my hairbrush, which I hadn't forgotten my hairbrush. But that's boring. But yeah, I was trying to be respectful and then I forgot to turn it off. So now I'm being disrespectful. But this is the
it was your podcast.
Well, I suppose I don't mind. That's true. What the hell? I'm the boss in here. Grayson, don't even give me that look. He didn't give me a look. Now he's looking at me like,
when I said
please.
Before, did you see my little rules person come up?
What did
Tam,
you-
you weren't following the rules.
You didn't see the note on the door.
See, that's my little ego thing, and I get triggered all the time when people don't follow the rules. You know, I always cross at the lights. I have I can't cross at that when it's
That was something I wanted to ask you about today.
too many
'cause
rules, Tam.
I don't know if
rules.
Sam and I have ever been on time once, and I thought I've got to check with Danielle because that might be really pissing her off, like disrespectful. Because when I did Landmark, they said if you're late, you're saying to the other person, "F you, I'm more important than you," and it never left me. But then because it's such a battle to get Sam out of the house, I go, I think those guys are having lunch. I don't think they mind if we're a few minutes. Okay, you just let me know. The reason my phone went off is this poem by John Rodell I wanted to read because this is what I've realised I need to do. When I'm most upset, I just need to put my focus on serving other people because it both relieves me and makes a difference.
Yep.
So this fellow wrote, who doesn't even try to come across as stable or together. Like some of his stuff is like, are you okay, buddy? And he'll say, no, I'm not. So he wrote, whenever I feel helpless in this overwhelming world, I become a helper. Oh, my love, on the days when it feels like I have no power, I serve others. You see, whenever I wash the world's feet, my hands immediately stop shaking. So it's beautiful. It's a lot as a way of saying it, but when I read it, I thought that's right. When I get the most upset, like I shared about on LinkedIn, the easiest way for me to calm myself is what's the point of this that we're doing for me or others, but particularly others? What's the point of the training? What's the point of the speaking? What's the point of the coaching? And as soon, like my friend said to me last night, I know why you like coaching. You escape yourself when you're with other people. And I thought that is right, and I immediately feel soothed. So it's a great 2-for-1 because I can help somebody or a number of people and I get to have a break. I get to relax and get out of this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. You are on fire when you coach. You absolutely step into your greatness and are in service of the other person and that just comes through. It's like you use your superpowers for the other person.
Well, I think
supercharges it.
Thank you. And I think like we've talked about before, sometimes I can access wisdom that's not even my own. Yeah. But when I was younger, people used to say to me a lot, you really overthink and you analyse too much, friends, family, everyone said it to me. You're too sensitive and you overthink. And I used to not like either thing, being told either thing. And I've realised now it is my greatest strength is both because not analysing like ruminating, but the same mind that can overanalyse or ruminate is the same mind that can go, oh, why do you think that, Danielle? And can work in a way that when I did this course with the people, I said I like these senior managers and their manager. I got them to write what's their greatest strength, what's their greatest weakness at work. And I said my greatest strength is figuring out what's really going on.
Yes,
and that's
it is.
right.
Yeah.
And that same intellect is the one that used to overthink or be sensitive. Same with you're too sensitive. Like
I don't get that.
it's because I realised where I used to get it from. The person who said it the most, they were very sensitive but couldn't be with it because of their age, gender and what's acceptable. Because being sensitive, you know, if you're a man, particularly an older man.
Sorry, I've got this.
I know
the
you can
knitted
see you're
eyebrows
like
on my
really
face. And
still
I'm
thinking
like,
about it, right? You know, it's like when you say when someone projects basically and says,
Yeah.
you're too sensitive.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's
But that's what I'm like. You sense it. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit my frame of view.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's definitely a projection from them.
yeah,
isn't
it was.
Yeah,
But
right.
it took me, I realised it when
Yes.
I was 37.
Yeah,
So that was a
yeah.
very quick realisation.
Yeah.
37, I go, hang on, you're too
Too
sensitive.
sensitive.
For you, not for me, but for
yeah.
you. That's why you keep accusing me of that.
Yeah.
I realised I was doing it with Andy recently because one of the things I'll say to him is, stop whinging. Oh, my God. But the other day I had the very uncomfortable realisation that he does it out loud, I do it in my head. And that's why I can't be with him doing it because there's too much going on for me already. I'm already complaining to
whinging.
myself all day, every day. I can't hear your
Yours
out loud version. Damn it. I hate when you realise stuff about yourself and
I
then
know.
I just wanted him to be bad and wrong and sort his shit out. Oh, my
Yes.
God, there's a massive iPad there that says 30 minutes in black and white. I think that's Grayson's new way of
communicating.
yeah, it's polite. It's not subtle. But, you know, we never promised. You know what I realised? Now I'm getting defensive. You know what I realised? We said we were going to make this 20 minutes, but I was just thinking of the
thereabouts.
Flatlanders who live in Leederville, South Perth, Wembley. I was thinking of all of them. This is my podcast. I live in Glen Forest.
You live in the hills.
It takes 45 minutes to get home. If we want to talk 45 minutes, Grayson's only doing what I asked. I can't really get angry at him. But, yeah, or home and back. There's a pause button, surely. I'm not even really seriously shitty. I'm just enjoying myself.
The 20 minutes or thereabouts.
Or thereabouts. An hour is almost 20 minutes. I've got to check my list because I definitely have to talk about what I wanted to talk about today. So let's have a look.
What's on the
I'm
list?
literally reading a list. I don't normally do this, but I'm quite keen on getting everything we wanted to do. Actually, we've almost done everything. That's so cool.
yay.
So there's one little story I want to tell and then we'll check if there's anything else that you would like to share.
Story time.
So yesterday I was driving and maybe in the afternoon and I should have been listening to my podcast because it was Friday afternoon, but I let myself down and listened to Sunshine FM, as in Jesus Sunshine.
I love Sunshine FM.
FM
Every
is so
now and then
nice.
I scroll past and I'm like, oh, that's a good song.
It's always a good song. And then, of course, you get a bit of psalm work and stuff you're not really
and there's
prepared
no haters
for.
on there.
There's
no gossip and haters. Yeah.
Because it is Sunshine FM.
Yeah, it's one of my favourites.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Anyway, so this fellow comes on for the Friday afternoon interview and his name was Chris Bowen and he was a cop forever, right?
Ooh.
So he's a Christian, has been Christian since 23 and a it's very rude to say, but an old boyfriend of mine, not my first boyfriend actually, but when I was very young, he used to call religious people God botherers. Have you ever heard that term? No. He was a really clever fellow. Some issues there, but very clever fellow. Anyway, that was very cheeky, and it's not what I actually personally think, but it popped into my mind because this fellow said I was a policeman, but I was so sick of putting people in jail and the recidivism rate. It's one of my favourite words, recidivism. It means the basically going back to jail over and over. Oh. So if you have a high recidivism rate, they get out and go back. Oh. And it's been a thing for me in Australia for a long time. Our system is probably not as terrible as America's, but it's bad. It doesn't work. People come out, they try and get a job, they try and get housing, they can't figure out either, and of course they need to make money, so they do whatever they did before, go back to jail. They just go in and out. Yeah. Like our logical robber in Hilton who robbed us, he just goes in and he just went in and out. But he was out when he robbed us. Anyway, so this fellow, Chris Bowen, gets on Sunshine FM and says, I was down at the beach and I was coming up for long service leave and I was so upset. I loved my job, but I hated this prison system and putting people back into prison. And I was on the beach and I said to God, please, God, tell me what I should be doing. And he ended up speaking to this fellow that owned a construction company. I think his name was Hanson. And he said to him, you want to create something where prisoners can have an opportunity to work? I might be able to create something with you, i.e. they could come and work for me in my company. So he goes, that's exciting idea. Let me think about it. I've got long service leave coming up. I've already got plans with my wife. I'm going to act on that and then we'll see where we're up to when we get home. So he takes his wife over to England. This other fellow doesn't know what he's doing. He goes over to England, flies into Singapore, gets on a cruise in Singapore, starts to think about the topic again and thinks, should I make this break? And it's very risky and can I afford it? And the police is going to give me a secure outcome, secure pension, and I like my work. I'm just frustrated about this one element. And he's on the deck with his wife and they're wandering around and he says, for both of them, he says, please help give us a sign what I'm meant to do. And he walks down the stairs for dinner and the fellow from the construction company is coming up the stairs. All right, it's goosebumpy, right?
Pretty big sign.
It was awesome. And he goes, well, I couldn't really ignore it.
Yeah.
And so he's created this thing, which I think, I'm just looking at my notes, I think he's called it Thrive Integration. I'll check that and we'll put it in the show notes. But I felt really inspired and I'm going to see if there's anything I can do to support him in the kind of training we do, because when I think about some of the training they do in prison, of course, for most human beings, and I've talked about it here, communication is very difficult. We're not taught it well. We're not taught it in school. And if people who are in prison, if you look at sometimes lack of literacy, certainly how they've been raised or the environment they've been in, communication and emotional intelligence can both be a big weakness.
Yeah.
But, of course, these people are committed to, like he said, I met a lot of people who are very committed to getting their life back on track, but when they couldn't get a job, couldn't get housing, they'd go back to committing crimes again. So anyway, I haven't spoken to Andy. He mentioned to you outside. I say,
did too.
yeah, I always say,
are you in that circle now where Tam just says, Andy doesn't know this.
But yeah, and you are too, because didn't I say to you, you don't know this, but I'm going to ask you to be my saboteur coach. That's right. So what I'm going to do, with his permission, is get in touch with this fellow and say to him, how can I help? And we're luckily so busy that I have to be respectful how much I offer and what I need to do within our own business. But I feel like even if I ran, a session or two a month.
You just need to plant the seed. The tree
and
will grow.
I really love the idea because I'm very passionate about having people who have a good intention, particularly people from this kind of background, this terrible criminal background, have greater chance of succeeding. And exactly like you said, you as a professional group of women going, now I understand amygdala hijack. Imagine if you're an ex-criminal understanding your reactions or how you can assertively talk to someone and get what you need or write a letter to someone for housing or... Yeah. I find it a very inspiring idea.
Just learning how to be comfortable in your own body with your own thoughts.
Especially if
for the best of us, that's hard. And
let alone people with potential drug histories that
trauma,
can really
all sorts of things.
Massive trauma. These drugs that of course exist now
and probably
impact
never been
people's
told they'll
minds
amount
forever.
to anything in their whole lives.
No one would have said you're all right.
Yeah.
I actually went to do some training in prison when we very first started Discern, and I went along for a trial to watch the lady who did run it. It was extremely inspiring. We went to the women's prison on Reed Highway there, fascinating adventure in lots of ways. But I really wanted to do it, and I had a business coach at the time who was a very successful business owner from Queensland, and he said, you can't afford to do that at the moment. You need to build up the business. And he was right. I couldn't afford to do it. I had to get Discern going. But now Discern is... What do you say? Liquid? Fluid? Positive? What's that thing people say when you've got some money now?
Cash flow positive?
Cash flow positive. Why do I want to say liquid?
I don't know.
Liquid, that's not the word.
It's a good word.
It is a good word. If liquid means good, if liquid is the flowing of the creek of, I wouldn't say it's a fast-flowing river, but it's certainly a healthy creek of money, then, now I can rationalise, and it's an area I don't know why. I think it's because it's interesting, different, and I love a well-intentioned person that hasn't had the tools to help them get what they need.
Yeah.
I love that combo.
Yeah,
Plus,
and I love that the universe had you listening to that station at that time to hear that message.
And I love that that guy walked up the steps on the cruise ship as the other guy walked out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want a message, that's like that meme. If you want a sign, this is it. You know, the literal sign. I love that. Is there anything you wanted to talk about today that we haven't?
No, I've enjoyed our chat. I love it because I never know what you're going to talk about. So I'm like just on the edge of my seat the whole time.
That's so cool. I feel a bit guilty about dogging out Andy at the beginning though. It is how I actually felt.
It's our time together.
It is our special time together with Grayson.
I do love chatting to him.
I know.
I really enjoyed our conversation that we were having earlier. But this is our special place.
I think we need to set boundaries. So this is a one-off that he was here, and then that's never going to happen again unless I'm interviewing him. Then he can come.
Oh, then he can come.
But if you would like to spend time with him.
I'll go and have coffee with him.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't have to be now.
No. In your time.
My time. This is my special time. Yeah, how cool.
And we will surely know if he listens to this episode.
Oh, I will find out. I will find out. But we're having straight up. The reason he's here, because normally I wouldn't let him come, is you're very kindly going to take my son to the zoo.
Zoo.
And Andy and I are going to go and have some food and a drink and catch up because all we've been doing is working, talking about work or talking about his foot operation. And so we thought we need a little bit of time together. I've got a prediction. I think if we spend 2 or 3 hours together, first hour will be solid fighting. That's what happens when it's been too long and it's like, I've got a list of things, mate. Yeah. I could try now that I've said it out loud, I could try for it not to be that, couldn't I?
Oh, you could set an intention.
I could set an intention.
Let's have a visualization
of
a
deep
lovely
breathe.
Time together.
Yes.
You and Andy.
I could talk about the choice I've made for an exciting and connected and peaceful marriage and come from that place.
Yeah, you could.
Yes.
You could.
It feels nice.
It does.
I could put aside my shit and be nice.
Where's the fun in that?
Oh, earrings. Final thing.
Oh, beautiful earrings. 50,
of course, they're meant to be for turning 50, but Sam found them. I'm obsessed with pink at the moment. Pink is the colour of transformation. We're all transforming. And I meant to mention to you, we've still got to get our glass thing, the green glass thing, and need Elle's help with the graphic.
Yes.
Because I need to order it so it can go there.
Okay.
I did found a vibrant pink orchid that we could also use. But
please.
It's it says something.
Oh.
Yeah, like this is a very elegant studio.
Oh, no, make it your own. Make it your own, Tam.
I did really like that pink orchid.
Go for it.
Maybe just when it's 50-50.
Yeah, no, do it.
Okay. Don't say that until you see it.
Be your best self. No,
okay,
be your best self.
Imagine me as a flower sitting on that table and you go, okay, I will.
We're all about being our best selves.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.